because, hold on now, I want the public to hear this too.
Okay.
You say a danger, because if you didn't call it a danger, you would have to have done some kind of diagnoses. And of course, you didn't do any kind of diagnoses. And hold on now, let me make my point. You can you can rebuke it. And so you call it a danger, and because you see a danger, you see no conflict in having done any basic diagnosis, because you can't from afar. Right?
Actually, that's untrue also. It's been scientifically proven that for certain conditions, a diagnosis is more accurate from a distance without a personal interview.
Really?
Yes.
And is this considered mainstream thought in psychiatry?
Yes.
That you can do a diagnosis from a distance?
And yes.
Wow.
It is for certain conditions, only a certain number, and you really need to know what kind of information you need. So the diagnoses nowadays are not like they were before. Before 1980, they were based on introspection. You would really need to get into the inner thoughts of the person to form a diagnosis. But nowadays, diagnoses are based on actually outside observations, just observing the person, rather than...
All right, diagnoses.
No, I have never diagnosed. That's what I would like to really make clear, that I have never diagnosed.
So what did you do?
I'm not interested in diagnosing. I'm not interested in the personal mental health of Donald Trump. I am only interested in the public health effects.
All right, now wait a minute. Your book is full of allegations about the personal mental health of Donald Trump, and so are the essays. I told you I read your book.
Yes, so the effects, public health effects. So everything exists in an ecology. We can't isolate the person from society, especially if they're...
situation within the person is operating. You need to know more about the person. You know nothing about Donald Trump, do you? Ma'am, you don't know a thing about Donald Trump's mental health, do you?
Now I do. I told you. I had a hypothesis. So this is very scientific.
This is doublespeak. You don't have a single scientific diagnosis from which you can analyze the mental health of the President of the United States.
I told you I'm not interested in a diagnosis. I agree you cannot diagnose from afar. I have not diagnosed.
But then you change the terms. You talk about an ecology.
From afar, you can tell, yes. So you always look at an ecology. Even in an individual, you look at their biology, psychology, and social circumstances. You do not isolate any of them.
That's fine, and you're repeating yourself. I'm a quick study. I understand it. Projecting him onto a general ecology. You can't project him onto anything because you don't know anything about him.
You are
Let me ask you this.
The situation as a whole.
Well, did you analyze the situation of Hillary Clinton?
I always emphasize that dangerousness is about the situation, not the person. Mr. Trump,
is she dangerous?
As a private citizen, would not be a danger to society. Hillary Clinton never raised alarms for me. And
she was Secretary of State. She was a senator. She was a First Lady.
It does not have to do with one's political party. So it's.
I fear it does.
In political discourse, you give both sides equal say. But in medicine, medical neutrality means you bring the same standards no matter what political party.
But you don't.
And if the person meets the standards, then you,
It's not a complicated question. Where's the list of the standards in your book?
Let me just finish. Just because I see signs in Mr. Trump does not mean I have
No
to
offense,
see
you
the
sound
same
like a palm
signs
reader. I'm asking you, where are the standards?
Clinton.
Look, you're a professional. I'm a professional. I have rules of ethical
please
conduct.
Act like a professional and
You have,
yell,
I don't want
please.
to. You have rules of ethical conduct. I'm asking you for a list of your standards.
Mr. Levin, you said you're a legal professional? I will tell you.
Are you going to diagnose me from afar now?
No. Let me make an analogy. I'm trying to make myself understandable. So when you're a legal professional, you do not declare someone criminal or innocent from afar without having the evidence, right?
Right.
And so once you have enough evidence, you make a conclusion, right?
Right.
And for every assessment, you have certain standards as to what would count as valid evidence. Is that correct?
Correct.
It is the same in psychiatry. So
no, it's not, apparently. See, we have rules of professional conduct. Go ahead.
Depending on the assessment you are making, if you have the correct information and have enough evidence, then you can make an assessment.
No. You're sitting back watching television.
I never made a diagnosis.
Ma'am, you are sitting back watching television. You never even bothered to go to any one of his rallies and talk to any of his people. You've never taken the time to do any serious scientific, medical, or investigative activity. You've Let me finish. I read your damn book. You sat back, you and a gaggle of like-minded psychiatrists and psychologists. Please don't talk over me. You're a professional. You sat back. You made an observation based on a bias that you had.
It's not really a dialogue. You're trying to...
Ladies and gentlemen, the following...
John Yarmouth.
John Yarmouth of Kentucky.
Who used to be a Republican.
Oh, I don't care if he used to be an independent. It's irrelevant to me. This isn't about... See, for you, it's about politics. For me, I sit back and I say, wow, we have a psychiatrist on TV pontificating about the mental health of the president, what a danger he is, how dangerous he is, how he needs to be removed, you talk about, how he must be defeated, and so forth and so on. There are hundreds of thousands of psychiatrists out there who would never do that sort of thing. Why is that?
Can you imagine a medical emergency that does not have to do with politics? Not everything is about politics. In fact, medicine is above politics.
I have to take a break. Can you hold on, or do you want to go? Morning feeling slug greens every mode, not some. So let's for appearing. Shall return.
877-3
some time ago, and it wasn't easy to find this mag. And on the cover.
So it was a survey of more than 12,000 psychiatrists, and only about 1,100 responded.
Right.
And it was, less than 10%. So less than 10% speaking irresponsibly is not a big deal, but it was a tabloid magazine which sensationalized the responses. And some were egregious, others were actually quite reasonable.
And Barry Goldwater brought a lawsuit, right?
Yes, and
did he win?
Won against the magazine, and the American Psychiatric Association was embarrassed. So in response to that, you just added a rule that's actually, the rule wasn't really necessary. It's an extension of good practice, not to diagnose.
Well, they restated the rule, didn't they, in 2017? What did they say?
Oh, actually, they created a new rule, a gag rule.
What did they say?
So it used to be you couldn't diagnose a public figure, but you should educate the public when asked about a public figure and educate in general terms. And it was part of participating in activities that improve the community and better public health, because psychiatrists have a responsibility to society as well as to patients. And that's actually the context of the Goldwater
You wrote the whole book, though. You weren't asked. You wrote an entire book. And by the way, let me just say this as a lawyer.
The public was hungry for
to
it.
America. New York Times versus Sullivan was after this.
For the human over the
Aristotle
human
considered
nature.
Harris talking about, raw poll numbers and something like that. We're talking about the body politic, society, the civil society. Go ahead.
Question. You have wanted to do this interview. Someone pointed out to me a YouTube video where you were complaining that I consented and then declined. Why did you wish to do this interview?
First of all, I don't remember you saying you consented and declined. When did I say that, Mr. Producer? Never. Why don't you send us a link? You send us a link to that YouTube video, and I'll post it.
I mean, my question is simply, why did you...
Well, get your facts straight first. Now, why did I want to do this interview? I'm going to tell you why. I read your book. I've been watching you on television. Mm-hmm. And I consider you a disgrace.
And why is that?
That's why. Because in my view, if you're a mental health professional, you don't go on to left-wing shows or Brian Stelter all over MSNBC, advise Democrats in Congress. Excuse me. Well, you've been around. I've seen you. Promoting your book, promoting your position. You say you're a humanist, I think you said. You don't really want to get involved in politics. That's baloney. You're involved. Excuse me, it's my observations now. I admit, not based on a medical training, but based on legal training and common sense. You have not only allowed yourselves to become a political plaything of the left, you are loving it. And so that is why I wanted you on this program. You disagree? You disagree? Well, I mean, ma'am, I am inside your head. You're inside my head. You're inside everybody's head. Go ahead.
Look. I don't profit from the book. All the revenues are being
I didn't say you profited from the book. Who said that?
I don't benefit from public appearances. In fact, my reputation has suffered.
I didn't say you do.
Benefited.
You're out there promoting a propagandistic point of view that is not based in medical science, or in my view, this is just my opinion.
Yes.
Or in normally accepted standards of your profession. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's my view.
Yes, because it's really unprecedented that so many mental health professionals have risen up for any president of any party. In fact, there are thousands who have formed a coalition.
You're damning your own profession. I agree with you.
President, because the APA was not acting on behalf of the
because so many psychiatrists are liberals. That's why.
Was favoring the government over protection of society.
Now you sound like a conspiracy theorist. So you're saying your professional organization is siding with the government against its members. Now the vast majority of members don't believe that.
So it said that it was doing so to protect federal funding. Anyhow,
to protect whose federal funding, Doctor?
The APA's federal funding.
So they're bought and paid. Hold on now. So they're bought and paid for, the APA. So we should ignore them.
Are you a Republican?
I'm a conservative Republican, but sometimes I oppose Republicans.
Have you ever voted for a Democrat?
Never.
Okay. Did you vote for Donald Trump?
Yes.
Now, would you say your views are objective?
Yes.
You tried to discount my views, even though I am not a Democrat. I did not only vote for Democrats.
You said you voted for one Republican, and you wouldn't tell me who. I've been more honest with you than you've been with me. Who did you vote for?
Well, I told you I supported one. I was too young.
Supported one. I see.
And now I believe I was mistaken.
Okay.
Now,
what else do you want to? I think what you're doing is, in my personal opinion, grossly unprofessional. But I don't discount your point of view.
Grossly unprofessional?
What's that?
Were you saying your opinion is grossly unprofessional?
No, yours.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Why am I holding myself out as a medical doctor and doing psychoanalysis and doing all that stuff? No.
About me not hearing my point of view. You have already formed your conclusion, and you will not be swayed. So why are we having this?
Here's what I'll do. I'm going to give you 30 seconds without interruption to tell my audience why you're right. Go ahead.
Because I am concerned about humanity, and when there is a risk to its health and safety, I have an obligation, a professional obligation to society to speak up. And I have tried all confidential avenues. I have tried to go about things the quiet way. It has not worked. And so my last resort is to be of service to the public. I'm pleading to the public because the public is also my responsibility insofar as health is concerned. I am not acting as a political agent. I am not interested in politics. It is merely my trying to meet a medical need. And I would do the same if it were a Democratic president.
What do you make? Fair enough. What do you make of Joe Biden's mental health?
It seems like it's not so perfect, but compared to Donald Trump, he's quite better off. And I believe he has the insight and integrity to pass off tasks if he were to become incapacitated. I'm not sure I could say the same about Mr. Trump.
And why do you assume that about Joe Biden?
I don't assume that. I look at patterns of behavior.
Oh, you know it as a fact. Very good.
No. I have a hypothesis.
Well, we all have a hypothesis.
I had a hypothesis, and you test it over time. And if your hypothesis is met time and time again, and in fact affirmed and completely turns out as you predicted, then you assess the situation as consistent with your hypothesis. And that's been exactly the case with Mr. Trump. Yes, when we wrote the book, it was
I asked you about Joe Biden, and you keep talking about Donald Trump. Is that a
yes, because
psychological issue?
Not very
is that
interesting to me.
Is hold on now? Is obsession a psychological issue?
No, unless they become a danger to the public.
Are you obsessed with Donald Trump?
No, I'm concerned about the danger until it's removed.
Oh, we're all concerned about danger. I'm concerned about the danger of Joe Biden. But that doesn't mean I'm going to just psychologically analyze the man from afar.
You already said you're not a psychological professional, so I wouldn't expect you to.
But I suspect 100,000 in your profession wouldn't do. No, it's not your job. As a matter of fact, you just trashed your own association. You basically said they sold out to the federal government. Didn't you say that?
No, the association did. When an institution does so, in order to stand up for the integrity of my field, I will speak up. Because I'm an independent thinker.
Do you know who Florence Nightingale was?
I'm sorry?
Do you know who Florence Nightingale was?
Yes, of course.
You sound like you have a Florence Nightingale complex. May I say that with all due respect? You're standing up for your profession. You, Dr. Bandy Lee.
I think all professionals should stand up for their profession. They should not be just blind, obedient non-thinkers. They should not become technicians. They are professionals.
Why do you assume people in your profession who work hard every day to try and treat people who are troubled, who need help, are blind technicians as opposed to as opposed to upholding the Hippocratic Oath?
You do not realize just how many mental health professionals are eager to speak up. And the APA placed a chilling effect on the entire profession. That's why thousands of them
The APA saved your profession. They saved your profession because...
How do you know that?
I tell you why I think that. And the reason is because people who need mental health, I assume, support or input or whatever the situation is, behavioral issues and so forth, they don't want to go to somebody who's going to go on TV and then start trashing a politician because she concludes from her own broad, vast experience, hold on now, in examining rallies that the President of the United States... Well, let me ask you this. Are the president's, and you're right about this, are the president's supporters equally mentally problematic?
No, but they may not recognize the signs. Oh, yeah. And so when they are supporting someone to their detriment, I believe it's my duty to alert them about the situation, especially if there is harm.
But that's not what I asked you. The almost 63 million people who voted for him and like him. You know, he's got like 87, 90% support in the Republican Party. Are those people, do they have mental issues?
They can be vulnerable to someone who is manipulative and deceptive. I've seen judges be deceived by some defendants when they are extraordinary.
We're not asking that. We're asking about 60-some million. Let me ask you, are Bernie Sanders supporters, do they have mental issues as a whole?
Why do you keep bringing up other people? I've never been.
Because I'm exposing you. You're very political, even though you pretend not to be.
I have never been concerned about. I have never been medically concerned about other political figures.
That's my point, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you're confusing a medical judgment with a political position.
No, actually, you are. You know, Dr. Lee, I think we've had a fair discussion here. Next time you see Brian Stelter on CNN, would you tell him I said hello, please? And
a polite hello or an
a polite hello. He's a nice little fella. And if you want to come back, anytime you want to come back. Fair enough?
I would willingly come back if we can actually have a conversation and not a fight.
It's not a fight. It is a debate. This is what makes America great. Remember our founding principles, First Amendment.
Not when you're not listening to me.
Ma'am, I've not only listened to you, I read your book. Did you read my books? Have you read any of my books? No.
Well, maybe next time I will.
No, you haven't, but I read yours.
I didn't know about them. I would be interested in...
All right. Will you check out my latest book, On Freedom of the Press? Okay. It doesn't even involve psychiatry or anything.
Okay. So,
all right, ma'am.
Okay, that's a date.
All right. Thank you for your for coming on the program.
Okay, thank you.
All right. God bless. I can say God bless, can I? July and August are when the most burglaries occur. And what's crazy, with 24/7, a lot of the time, police security companies do. Sign recommend that you start taking with the N.com offer code. Since for those on the stage without spite health, X. Lee, a psychiatrist, among other things, was willing to come on the program. And it's in that spirit that I invite Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, any Democrat running for president of the United States to come on the program. And opposing and citizens, Dr. Bandy X. Lee of Yale College. And so let's jump in with a few. Sandy Hodges, MD, Hertford, North Carolina, a psychiatrist. How are you, doctor?
Oh, I'm just absorbing the content of this individual's concern. Mm-hmm. Other than an increased issue or what I can observe. Mm-hmm. And of course, I can't place any diagnosis on this.
No.
But an increased need for validation of her beliefs, which could probably drive her to the media, is certainly concerning, but not diagnostic. Mm-hmm. Now, the issue of the DSM-5. Now,
Hold on now. What's the DSM-5?
It is a criteria that is used for the diagnosis of mental disorders, mental health disorders. Mm-hmm. And it is very, very select in what the criteria for the diagnosis is. However, any psychiatrist with any sense, number one, would follow that criteria, and that includes an evaluation of not only the individual, the client, but the client's family, because those interactions with the family will glean more about the patient's needs and diagnosis. In other words, they most definitely can validate what the psychiatrist is seeing in the evaluation. So no diagnosis can ever, particularly of any narcissistic type disorder, can ever be gleaned without a look at the family dynamic.
But here's what she says in her book. She tries to get around that, in my view. She says, assessing dangerousness is different from making a diagnosis. It is dependent on the situation, not the person. Now, that's a bizarre statement, don't you think?
It doesn't fit with any criteria, anything.
Which is the point, isn't it?
When she talks about, I have to push back, she talks about hypothesis, all right? Any scientist in the right mind understands that hypothesis is not law. Mm-hmm. It has to be proven. Hypothesis is an idea, a thought, a belief. But without being proven, it is garbage science.
But, Doctor, she says it's proven by Trump's subsequent actions. This is why I know she's highly political.
Well, number one, any actions that he takes are for strategic issues that relate to our global dynamics. It has absolutely nothing to do with an examination of Mr. Trump as president, Mr. Trump as patient, being evaluated in a clinical examination where the family is brought in to discuss.
All right, I'm running out of time. Let me ask you something. The American Psychiatric Association, is it on the take from the federal government, like she basically said?
No.
I didn't even understand that point.
No. Of course, it has its lobbying, like the American Medical Association has. There is a great deal of lobbying that goes on in these organizations, whether it be the American Medical Association or any other. But it is not on the take. It does not receive federal funds from the government.
She said it does.
Independent organization.
All right. Doctor, thank you for your input. I appreciate that. Let's go to a doctor of psychology, Elizabeth, Lake Worth, Florida, the great WJNO. What did you make of what you heard?
I was so professionally offended by her willingness to go out and make opinions about two people who she has not evaluated. Mm-hmm. She hasn't evaluated Joe Biden. She cannot compare him to Donald Trump, who she also has not evaluated. It's so unethical that anything she says should be completely discarded.
Mm-hmm. But the media love her.
Great. Let them love her. The media love lots of things that are not true.
Listen, just as a pedestrian here, having read her book and the 27 essays in her book, listening to her now, especially when I interviewed her, I honestly don't know how a psychiatrist can, and I'm not trying to attack her now that she's gone. I'm just being honest, how a psychiatrist can conduct him or herself this way and then say I'm not political, knowing full well that the whole thing's being politicized.
She's not objective. She's not professional. She's not credible, and she's not reliable. Those are all things that our mental health professionals have to be. And to give her any more airtime, any more publicity is absolutely ridiculous.
Why do you think Brian Stelter brings him on his show on CNN?
Because he has an agenda, and she has the same agenda. It's unprofessional. I haven't evaluated either of those gentlemen, so I won't comment on their mental stability. I won't comment on how they can govern a country or not. It's unprofessional. And people who give credence to that are equally unreliable and unprofessional.
Like the media. It's absolutely incredible. And I would thank you for your call, Doctor. It's absolutely incredible to me